but I was just with him in Niagara Falls, and we couldn't go a block without people starting like, man, just hide your face, I'm hungry, I wanna eat.
Who was in here for the Jason's panel that we did?
Awesome, thanks for coming back.
All those questions are out the window. All right, so Lachlan, let's start with you.
Yeah.
When you did this, I mean, God, I don't know if you ever stop working. It feels like you're in every day. And it's always an amazing moment when you realize you're in it. But I think Dead Man on Campus is one of the greatest comedies ever. I fucking love that movie so much. And then when I saw that you were in this, I was really excited.
Yeah.
So by the time this movie finally happened, and Friday the 13th was such a massive thing, what was your reaction when you got cast?
Well, to tell you the truth, the lure of the movie for me when they asked me if I wanted to do it, I hate to say this, but my wife was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and I knew that they were gonna shoot the movie in Vancouver, which is where I'm originally from, as well as Ken and Glenn. That I was like, okay, that'd be great, I'll go up and do this movie for a couple months, cause it'll, my wife and I are from Vancouver, and all of our family are there, and so my wife, while she's pregnant and about to give birth, we can be in Vancouver. That's really, honestly, what the allure was for me. And then, so I'll tell you actually a story about, okay.
Is it a
So-
long story?
So I'm just gonna go into like when I first got there to do the movie. So I got a call from this, an actor, who was supposed to be in the movie, that had come up to do the drug test for the movie, because he had to do drug tests. And do you know who was supposed to play the part that Ritter played?
No.
Do you know all that?
No.
Yeah, so it was Brad Renfro. So I got to know Brad Renfro because when he was really young coming to LA, my roommate was his guardian, because when Joel Schumacher first found Brad Renfro, he was very young, and Joel Schumacher's assistant kind of became his guardian whenever he'd go around on movies. And so Brad Renfro phoned me up and he goes, hey, look, I'm really excited I'm gonna do this movie with you. And then 2 days later he said, hey, apparently I'm not doing it. So Brad Renfro, he just had bad situations with drugs and alcohol. And unfortunately, they couldn't insure him, so they had to send him back, and then that's how Jason Ritter fell in the movie. So not a lot of people know that. So I of course knew Brad just from previous times in LA when my roommate was his guardian. He was a really nice young kid, talented as hell. Like, that kid could sit and play the blues guitar. I swear to you, the first time I met him, he was 14 years old. He had a little patch of hair in his chin. He came into the apartment where we were. He took a cigarette out of his mouth, put it in the end of the guitar, and started playing blues. And he was 14 years old. I couldn't believe it. So
You're not supposed to smoke when you're 14.
Yeah. Like, I mean, just how
You're not supposed to be alone with Lachlan when you're 14.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. Oh shit. So my point being is that I got more excited about doing the movie, and then of course he told me he couldn't do it. And then once the young cast got up there, I really loved the fact that Jason Ritter was there. He was really a great young kid, and Ken and I had known each other for years and years. So when I found out he was in it, that was great. So I ended up actually enjoying the movie for more reasons than I thought. It was a long story to get to that point. But
I had worked with Jason's dad on a movie called Stay Tuned, and so it was great to see him a part of the cast as Freddy.
And he's so much like his dad too.
Yeah,
isn't he?
really,
Oh my gosh.
really.
It was really funny because right after we wrapped it, there's a Starbucks on Ventura Boulevard and Coldwater Canyon.
Yep.
And I went in to get a coffee, and John Ritter was in there. And I went up to John Ritter and said, hey, sorry, John, my name's Lachlan Monroe. I just finished a movie with your son. So I chatted with him, probably about a month before he passed away. But it was so funny when I was talking to his dad. I just saw a lot of Jason in his father. So, but I enjoyed the movie, and I thought the movie was you know, they had a really good budget, that film, and it showed on screen. It was a really well-shot film.
Did you go back and watch all the Nightmares and all the Fridays beforehand?
I gotta tell you, man, honestly, Ronnie used to get so mad at me because I kept mispronouncing Jason Voorhees' name. I'd go Jason Voorhees, and then they go, cut. And I go, what? They go, it's Jason Voorhees. I said Jason. So I never really grew up, honestly. I gotta tell you, I never
That's your
really-
Canadian accent there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
So I never grew up as a huge Jason fan, so I never really, I didn't do a whole bunch of research because my character pretty much was exposition for probably all the Freddy Krueger fans who didn't know who Jason was. They brought me in to explain it all. So, so I just basically read the script and went, oh, okay, now I know who Jason is.
So when the movie opened so huge,
Yes.
were you surprised at all?
Totally. That's what freaked me out the most, is that I had teenage guys coming up to me because, you know, at that point I had Scary Movie come out and Roxbury and all these, you know, sort of comedic, you know, well received films. And these guys would come up to me and go, bro, I saw your movie 5 times this weekend. I was like, what? I couldn't tell anyone I was in a movie called Freddy vs. Jason. When we were shooting that movie, I'm like, oh, for sure they're changing this title. People would go, what are you shooting? Go, ah, this is a little horror movie. I could not say Freddy vs. Jason. I thought for sure they were going to change it.
I don't know if you guys know offhand or whatever, but Lachlan worked on, I would have given a right arm to work on this movie, but Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. And that's your cherry on the top
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
you know. Clint Eastwood, I would have loved to have worked with him. When I was in university, I had 2 posters on the whole, the rest got naked chicks all over the place.
Ken was still
Hold on, what were those posters again?
I had Clint Eastwood, from Outlaw Josie Wales, and I had John Wayne on my wall. Yeah.
See, I had Farrah Fawcett and Heather Thomas from The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
Well, they were up here. I had them so well
Was it
memorized.
was it the
No,
Heather
not
Thomas
judging,
one
Ken,
with
I'm
the-
not judging your choices at all.
But see, Ken, those were the
Not
people
at
that
all.
were on Ken's wall. Those were the girls Ken was dating.
Was it the Heather Thomas one with the pink?
Yes!
I had that.
Was there another one?
That's the only one it's etched in
I
my.
didn't become a stuntman because I watched The Fall Guy, that's for sure. I mean, a lot of people did, but that was not my thing, it's just,
So when we did the Jason's panel earlier, we went through some of this, but the best part of that was you guys just all trading stunt stories. What made you want to do stunts?
I'd been a professional rugby player, and I was so injured that I couldn't continue at the age of 36, which was really old to be a rugby player anyways. And I moved back from Japan, where I'd spent 10 years, to Vancouver. My younger brother was getting into the stunt world. So I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? And my brother said, well, you've been falling down for a living for a long time, will you just keep doing that? And I said, because I'm 36 and I'm broken, and who the fuck, what am I supposed to do? And he goes, well, there's not many big guys in it. So I gave it a go, and I very, very quickly met 2 of the big guys in it. One was Ken, and we became great friends right off the bat. And another one was Brad Laree, who was Michael Myers, and one movie, I'm not sure.
One
Okay.
Halloween, yeah.
And so it was indeed a very small fraternity of big guys. And what I found out quickly is that Ken's one of the most established stunt people in Canada. And so he had a lot of jobs. When I just started out, I had very few jobs. But we were the same size, same kind of look. And so Ken would get a job for a day or 2, and then the phone would ring for him, and someone would say, hey, can you do this 5 or 6 days of work? And it would overlap. And so he'd call me and say, hey, can you take these 2 days off my plate so I can do this better job? And that's how I got and that's how I got a lot of my work in my first year or 2 in the stunt business, is because he didn't have to phone the wardrobe department and say, hey, this guy's gonna come in, you'll have to fit him. And I said, I got a new guy, he's replaced me exactly the same size, the same look, as we find. No one will fucking notice. And then he got the better job. So it worked out really well for me and for Ken, I think.
But Glenn and I knew about each other before he ever got into stunt work, because people were mistaking us for each other. And they would walk up to him and start asking about stunt work, and they would walk up to me and start asking about rugby, because Glenn played for the Canadian national rugby team. And a deeper connection was Glenn's best friend on the Canadian national rugby team was my ex-brother-in-law. So we had all these weird connections before we even met, and yeah, so it was just.
Not even including the the girls who thought that you and I were the other person and had a bone to pick about certain
Should I
things.
tell my
Sure, if you want.
my famous Glen story? So we're gonna meet at the Yaletown Brew Pub, we're gonna shoot some pool, and I got there early to practice, and, and this girl walks up to me, she's a little drunk, and she goes, are you Glenn Ennis? And I go, no, but I get mistaken for him a lot. She goes, oh. She goes, Glenn Ennis broke my girlfriend's heart. And I know he's turning up any second. Oh, that's too bad, I'm sorry. And I don't say anything about him showing up, so Glenn shows up, he says hi to me, goes up to the bar to order a drink. And the same girl walks up to him, grabs him by the elbow and goes, I'm so glad you're not Glenn Ennis.
Me too, sweetheart.
So, Lachlan, you died by electrocution in this movie. When you read
And
the
a blow to the
script,
head.
and you saw like the bloodier ways other people die, were you like kind of jealous? Like, oh man, I wanted to get
You know, the
snapped
only
in
thing
half?
that I, honestly, when I read the script, the only thing that I thought that I wanted from my character, because I really was exposition. I just wanted a moment where Stubbs could maybe have like saved one of the kids in a like a sort of cooler, like heroic fashion. Maybe just had a bit more of a battle with Jason rather than just what happened.
Right.
Now, what people don't know, and Ken actually didn't really know this.
I did not know this till
So-
2 conventions
So
ago.
I'll tell you a story about this death scene. So Ken's a rather large person, and so when he goes like this to grab me when I go to run out, we had it choreographed pretty well because he couldn't see very well out the mask, and so a lot of it was where like we just rehearsed it. He knew if he did that, he would get me here. Well, the first take we did, Ken put his machete into the console. The effects guys lit the sparks. They forgot to give him his fire retardant outfit. His arm caught on fire. And so his arm was on fire, and he obviously saw it. So this became this. And so I go to run out, and boom, he hits me right here.
Oh.
So the very first take, before you see the take that you see in the movie, I'm flat out on the floor on my back, like kind of like, and they're all like, "Oh, Ken Kersinger's on fire." So
It just happened a lot before, and it's no problem.
you know, so everyone's like, "Oh, Ken, poor Ken," and I'm down here going, "See you burn." So that was a pretty funny moment actually, and the funny thing is, it's so weird all these years. Like honestly, Ken just found this out when we told this story about 4 months ago in Niagara Falls. And he was like, I didn't know that. I'm like, dude, you were on fire. I guess you By the time they put him out and got him all, re-wardrobed, I was up and ready to go again. But yeah, that was a pretty funny moment. I like, what can he do? He's on fire. He can't see.
Not hit you in the forehead.
We should recreate it, that'd be awesome.
But, so yeah, the only thing about the death scene, like, yeah, of course you always want, if you're gonna do be killed by an iconic character. It would've been cooler to maybe do it a bit different. But like I said, just the moments that I wanted were just to kind of like give Stubbs a little more to do, and then maybe go out in a little more of a bigger bang. I mean, the electrocution was kind of cool. Just, like, it's weird with the electrocutions because the melting of the face and stuff like that took like 6 hours just to put what you saw on. It's kind of a drag, and it takes 3 hours off to take off. So, but it's like, I'm not complaining. It was a really fun job.
Well, speaking of learning things at conventions, and this is a question for each of you, Ken, like, do you remember the first horror convention you were signing at, and were these people what you thought they would be, or was it?
The first one I signed at was Comic-Con in San Diego, and we were supposed to sign. We had just gone down to promote the movie, but they asked us if we wanted to have some tables, so I was signing beside Sean. He was one of the main in Lord of the Rings. He was one of the
Sean
main.
Astin.
Sean Astin. So I was
Oh,
signing
that-
beside Sean Astin, and Sean Astin. And he has an affinity for stunt people, and he goes, a lot better than getting hit by cars, isn't it? I go, I could get used to this.
Yeah.
But what an environment be your first signing? It's amazing.
Yeah, and Lachlan?
You know what's really interesting for me is that I'd been asked to do them, and I just wasn't sure. Like, I felt kind of like it just felt odd to me to sit at the table and sign my pictures for people. I honestly, I was a little intimidated by it. I was doing a TV show called Burn Notice in Florida, and this gentleman came up to me. He goes, "Hey, Lachlan, hi. My name is Petey, and I do
Spooky
craft
Empire.
service. I do craft service for the show, but I also run a con. It's called Spooky Empire." And this was like in 2005 or so, right? And he goes, "Do you ever do conventions?" And I go, "Nah, you know, and I'm just like a little uncomfortable." He goes, "Tell you what, man, I'll fly you out. I'll get your table set up. I'll have your photos for you and everything." And I went, "All right, you know, I had a little trip to Orlando. Why not? I'll check it out." And so I went, and they put me beside. It was Tony Todd. I said, "Oh,
I doubled Tony Todd once.
Nice.
I can see it. Why wouldn't you?"
I had a really good tan, but it's back in the day when people didn't care
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
Give me someone big.
Yeah.
He's white. I don't know. So I was between he and this other gentleman just passed away. He was the gentleman who played a clown that had round circles.
Sid Haig.
Sid Haig. I was between Tony Todd and Sid Haig. And I honestly, I knew who Tony was. I didn't know Sid. I didn't know that movie and stuff. I just knew that, wow, these guys are popular, all these lines and stuff. And you know, and I had lots of people coming up to me. It shocked me, to tell you the truth, because like Spooky Empire, I'm like, the only horror movie I've done is like really Freddy versus Jason. I wasn't sure how I was gonna be received with, you know, being in a lot of silly comedies and stuff. But honestly, the experience of meeting the fans is why I still do them. And that was what shocked me the most, and it shouldn't have shocked me, because the cool thing about conventions is that you guys all come here and you have a commonality in the fact that you love movies, or you love whatever genre it is. You know, horror conventions are usually obviously the horror movies and stuff. But in general, you guys are all movie lovers and movie buffs. And so I'm like, well, why wouldn't I gel with that? Because I am as well.
Yeah.
So that's what shocked me, and that's why I still do it. And that was back in 2005 or so.
Glenn?
After I had no idea this kind of stuff existed, and after Freddy versus Jason, I worked for 15 years, busy, you know, acting, doing stunts, and it never really came up. And then I started getting a few phone calls, kind of after a couple of other jobs that got me some attention. One was The Revenant, because I played the bear in The Revenant, and all of a sudden people were phoning out, you know, for interviews and shit like that. And then I got some calls to go to conventions, and I just never felt, as the stunt guy, that it was really made sense to be that relevant. You know, you're always in the background, you're always just kind of along for the ride, which isn't derogatory, it's what I signed up for. But you know, Ken, you can back me up on this. You know, you don't feel like your part of that character is enough to make people really want to know you better and to interact with you and
Also,
pay $40 for an autograph. But
we were the generation where you didn't tell people you doubled people, because
right.
you wanted them to
yeah,
believe
the
that they had done
unknown,
their own
the
stuff.
unknown stunt man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. So when it finally happened about 6 years ago, someone called me up, and much like Lachlan, it was a small con, didn't have an agent or anything, and went there, and it was my first experience with people really giving a fuck that, and especially in this milieu, if you've worn the Jason mask, you've worn the fucking Jason mask. Because when I was there and I was seeing all these other signatures on a Jason mask, and one that set me off was Doug Tate,
Yeah, yeah.
who did one scene in this. I mean, Kenny and I worked for 6 weeks straight, and for 6 weeks, I was on one, set, and he was on another set, and we both worked full on for 6 weeks, and Doug Tate worked one day, and I'm seeing his name on all this shit. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I feel like I'm not worthy, and like, what? He did one scene, so I'm like, oh, maybe there's something to this. So, but certainly that first experience, seeing the passion that people have for something that is really important to their heart, and if you're a piece of that, it turned me into, rather than feeling I'm not worthy, to a deep respect for the genre and what people consider something that's changed their life, been an important part of their life. And so if I can be a part of that and take part, I think it enriches me actually to do these. I've only done 4 now, I think total. This might be my 5th, but I really enjoy them, and I think there's a lot of reasons for it other than sitting and signing your autograph and taking your money. It really is an experience that enriches both us and the fans.
Speaking of, I just love that you brought that up. Like, if you've worn the costume, especially if you've done stunts in it, and people can see you on, like, you are part of it, you know?
Yeah.
But there's now, you guys will probably know who it is, I don't know the name, someone who's doing cons because they wore the boots in one shot.
Part two, the lady?
Oh,
Yes.
Ellen Lutter.
The legs.
Super nice woman, but it's just funny to be like, oh, all right, so you weren't even in like the mask.
Hold on, just legs, right? Like just feet walking
The
across.
feet step into the cabin.
Did you guys all see, did anyone here see Scary Movie?
Yeah.
The first one I was in, and you remember the Polaroid? Yeah. That was Ken's first stunt job. You were so good at that.
I've got that poster on my wall.
I've known Lachlan since he was a kid. I think one of the first things we worked on was Hawkeye,
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah.
and it was a series.
With Linda
that showed-
Carter and Lee Horsley.
Lee Horsley,
Yeah.
and then Little Man. I think
Yeah.
we worked on that together, but we've worked together many
Glenn was
times.
on.
I
Do you guys remember the scene where we were at the hockey game and Sean and Marlon are up in the stands and the hockey player and like Marlon's and chirping him and he came through the glass and stuff? That was Glenn.
climbed up. I don't think I got a hand on you though, did I?
No,
I don't think I got a
no,
piece of it.
because
I would have
dude,
leaned in with an elbow if I had a
I-
chance, but I didn't get close enough to you.
I swear to God, as soon as I saw him coming up the stand, I honestly like hid. And so that I wouldn't be in the rest of that sequence because I'm like, yeah, someone's getting hurt. But,
Do
yeah.
you guys have any questions? I just wanna make sure if there's questions that we save time. Yes, right here.
Lachlan had
Yeah.
mentioned that Brad Renfro was originally cast at Will. Did he shoot anything, or
No,
was this
no,
just pre-production?
Yeah, it's such a, like, really, when you think about it, such a sad story, but, no, he had come into town, he did wardrobe, I think he did a bit of, hair and makeup tests, and he peed in a bottle. And then he went home. So I know he didn't film anything, he just, right away, I think, they brought Jason up pretty quick, like right before the shoot, they went, oh shoot, we gotta recast. So they brought Jason up, and I really think that was Jason's first movie, right?
Sure did a great job.
Yeah, he was really good. I mean, Kelly Rowland was really good, and the funny thing is, for me, I was like, now Destiny's Child, the girl from Destiny's Child. And she was so, like for someone who's so seasoned in being on stage and performing, like you could tell she was
She was
very
nervous about the
nervous.
doing the dialogue and stuff like that.
Oh, she had Babs Chula come out and be her coach.
Yes, she was
Someone,
on it,
like
right?
Babs
Yeah.
was on that
She
set
wanted to
lot.
do a good job, and she was very, very nervous, and, I remember she was freaked out by the Jason costume and stuff like that. But, she was an absolute sweetheart, she
Yeah,
was
she
so
was,
nice.
yeah, she was, yeah.
Didn't she not wanna do the mouth-to-mouth scene in the
Well,
back of the van?
That was just with Ken, she did it with me.
All the time. We didn't tell her that I was gonna spit water out. And she was freaked out enough by just seeing me in the costume. It was the only day I wore all the makeup, and she had to lift the mask, and so her reaction was completely real, because Ronnie had come to me ahead of time, and he goes, put some water in your mouth, and when she lifts the mask, gurgle it out. Don't gurgle it out all at once, just, a little bit at a time kind of thing. And as soon as I did it, she freaked right out. That's a completely real reaction there, by her, but yeah, that was a good gag on her.
Sir?
I wanted to do the part two because I was the one that asked about the stunts and the Jason. But I also was wondering, what are your worst injuries as stuntmen that you guys have experienced?
I don't really have any
Or
head injuries
close
at all that I can
calls.
say. Pancakes! What?
Or close call?
We like to say we have a 100% injury rate in stunts. You just don't know how bad or when, but so we've all got our stories. I've been pretty lucky. Like I said, I had a rugby career, and my worst injuries are all from rugby. But I've been knocked out a couple times, dislocated shoulder, surgery on an ankle. I did a fall from a third story and went through glass, and it's a bunch of cardboard boxes that you land in, and they break your fall. Usually, for some weird reason, I went right through them and landed on the ground, on the deck below. And so after the paramedics secured my spine and everything, I was there for about 10 minutes until I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm I think I'm okay. I'm gonna get up, and everybody's freaking out, and it was like the hardest hit I've ever taken, and I stand up and I go, holy fuck, I'm okay, and someone goes, oh, there's blood spurting out of your leg. And I guess the glass that I went through up top, got between me and the boxes and cut my leg open, so there's lots of near misses, so you go, yay, and if we're still walking, we're good. But I've never had anything that was like horrifyingly bad. I just feel horrifyingly bad every morning when I get up out of bed.
Well, one of the things about being a stuntman is the repetitive injuries that aren't so bad in the beginning, but they add up over time, because every time you do a stunt fight, like I used to take pride in how hard I could snap my head taking a punch kind of thing, but that's whiplash, and you're doing it over and over and over again, and then you're crashing cars, and we didn't use the Hans device, back in the day kind of thing. So those injuries add up, and then you get the ones like Glenn's talking about, where you break 3 vertebrae in your back, or you're tearing tendons off your ankles when you're landing and stuff, and so you get those severe ones, and certainly career-ending ones. People have died, and we knock on wood, that doesn't happen anytime soon. But Deadpool, there was a professional motorcycle racer, and she was put in a situation that a professional motorcycle racer would never be put in. And it's a funny thing when you put a camera on people sometimes, it takes their common sense away, and that was such an unfortunate accident. And I worked on a movie where the producers, against my recommendations, hired somebody to do a stunt they weren't qualified to do. They didn't tell me about it, and the person ended up getting killed. So it's a serious business. Death is possible, and injuries are 100%.
And we tend to play on with the injury. That's the thing. Nowadays, more so, if you're nursing an injury, the atmosphere might be leaned more towards take care of that or not do it, but we would just hide it. And you're hiding injuries and playing on because you want to work the next day. Whatever you might get for short-term liability insurance, you'd do way better if you work 3 or 4 days in the next couple of weeks. So you would just suck it up and go to set with something that's not quite right. I remember on Night in the Museum 2 or 3 or something, and me and a couple of the guys were hooked to a single wire, and Abe Lincoln, a big statue, came to life and swiped us, and we went through this big glass case and hit a gong. And first of all, we were wearing skirts because we're Egyptian soldiers or something, so I looked like a Tetley teabag. I had like 1,000 little perforations and a couple of cuts, but I'd broken my ankle in a couple places and torn some things. But I had a job the next day. I was doubling Jason Momoa and on Stargate Atlantis back before he was anything other than a big dreadlocked, kind of a goofy, fun guy. But I remember being helped onto set with the wardrobe people were helping me out, and there was a boot I had to put on. And when the boot went on, people for years still said, man, fuck, the noise I heard in that studio when you put that boot on, I was on the other side of the studio, but that scream was fucking haunting. And they shuffled me out there, stand on this mark, and I had to get tackled. I told the guy, tackle me fucking hard, because my foot hits the ground, I'm gonna smash you. So make sure my head hits the ground first. Tackled me hard, took the boot off, same scream, and away we went. But that situation has been pretty common for a lot of our careers, I guess, Ken. Yeah.
Working hurt was part of the business.
I pulled a glute muscle when I had a love scene with Shannon.
I don't think it's called a glute.
Love scenes are excruciating.
It's sometimes embarrassing.
Speaking of injuries, forgive me for telling this story. Last weekend we were in Chicago, and we all went out to dinner on Sunday night, and it was mainly the Terrifier crew and the Hatchet crew and a few other people. And Ken and Kane were so far behind us, they didn't want to walk because it was a 5-minute walk. And then they were so far behind us, and you could just see these guys had put themselves through so much shit. But it was just funny that the 2 scary guys, how far is it? You guys were considering getting an Uber.
Yeah, at least those scooters.
Hey, work smarter, work harder, right, Ken?
Is your glute okay now, by the way?
It was almost career ending.
I'll never do a love scene.
It's important to note, though, as much as injury is definitely, like you were saying, like the chance is 100%. Like you never know, you could land the wrong way, somebody could be in the wrong place, whatever it is. But as real stuntmen, you train to not get hurt doing these things. So when you see the stunt people who just, they want like in on your movie and they're like, I've broken every bone in my body. It's like, well then, probably not like all that good at this. But stuff
Yeah,
does
that's the
happen.
thing, there is an illusion, like especially in the movie going audience, that these guys are like just risk-taking cowboys. To tell you the truth, they're more meticulous, like the meticulous things that these guys do and the stunt coordinators do would shock you guys. There are no, like, injuries happen just because injuries happen, adrenaline gets going, certain things may not happen, but it is planned to a T. There's no, like that, you know, the Fall Guy and all that make it out like these guys are just cowboys that are risk takers and just daredevils. It's amazing how coordinated and planned everything is and how they rehearse it. And yeah, it's like for me, I'm so glad that the Academy Awards decided to add stunts.
Yes.
Because honestly, it's, cause I mean, you know, I went through, I've been in the industry 40 years. I've had tons of stunt guys make me look good.
And you're also a pretty handy stunt actor too. I mean, you don't shy away from the
No,
active stuff,
no.
so
I
you've
mean,
got a
I grew up
fairly
as an
good
actor.
inkling of, as an actor, what, you know,
Yeah.
you lean into the action
Yeah, for
side
sure.
pretty well.
But I don't back away when it's something that you know, like I'm an athlete, I grew up as an athlete, so I will maybe do a bit more than what the average actor will do, but I don't know my limits. Like at some point, I'm like, I'm gonna let someone make me look good, right? You know, I'm not gonna pretend I can do 5 cartwheels and a tumble and a roll, and,
Right.
you know, so let the pros come in and.
Can
know
you do
what?
one cartwheel?
I can do one.
Do you want to prove it?
Probably not now.
No.
You know, my cartwheels are like, they look like a 58-year-old cartwheel.
Were there other questions?
It's just a follow-up.
Oh, sure.
I think this is the reason I'm asking about all the questions on stunts is I'm just amazed at the professionalism that you guys do. You guys make it look easy, but you're absolutely right. I mean, this is planned out and nobody can just do what you do. So I just really want to thank both you guys for all the work that you guys do. We do appreciate it.
Thank you. You know
Jason
there was-
wanted to be Jason.
You know that the, like Freddy versus Jason, it was probably the most stunt-heavy movie in the series,
Of the
I would
franchise,
guess. You know,
yeah.
totally.
Well, we had the
and then we
biggest
had Hong Kong stunt team. The second unit director was Poon Hang Sang, who, you know, has and the director Ronnie Yu.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a lot of history in Hong Kong action movies. You know, like that was a part of the whole thing. It didn't just happen by chance. Let's have more action. These guys were like experts at this shit. You know, so they imparted that on the movie and gave it that flavor too. So it had that whole, it had the feel of an action movie with a bunch of blood splashed around. Is what I felt like when I was filming it for sure. Yeah, so it was cool.
Yes.
So in the finale, there's obviously the most stunt work because Freddy's come into the real world and Jason's are battling him. How would you differentiate, like to the viewer, which part is Ken, which part is Glenn?
Hopefully you can't tell.
Well, I can't.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
yeah,
asking.
I mean, we were
You
we're
would
such
need
good
something
doubles.
like
We
this.
were wearing a mask, so you may not see the difference
They don't even
now.
know.
No,
but-
but if you look at number 8, where I doubled Kane, and nobody questioned that for a long time, that Kane did everything in the movie, but now people are finding out that, I doubled him for it, so, you can see a difference, in the length of my legs and stuff like that, but, with him, it's like, we're interchangeable, really.
We're pretty solid, yeah. Like I wasn't joking earlier when Kenny's gone in for a wardrobe fitting and then he opted out and I took over. I would literally go in and put on the clothes that they fit for him and they would fit me perfectly and I'm exactly the height and a lot of the same look. So even if he was doubling somebody, I would have that same look. So we had that going on. So we had some experience interacting that way and we get along and then we even knowing each other as well as we did helped as well. And I would he would do something on set and then the second unit would come afterwards and do the same scene again, but then we'd add the stunts to it or certain little insert shots or whatever that they didn't have time for and they'd move on. But I get a chance to look at the video and see what Ken did, and then so I match that kind of stuff. And so there was a lot of stuff going on to make it so that you couldn't see the seams. But
Very
you know,
seamless.
yeah. Yeah, what people don't know is I'm in the movie about 97% of the time.
Yes.
Me.
Yes.
You guys mentioned the Fall Guy, and it got me thinking about.
I worked one episode of it. by the way. But they came to Vancouver to shoot an Olympic sequence. And so we were shooting up in the mountains, but I got to work one day on it. I got a Fall Guy t-shirt and everything,
Hold on, like,
which got stolen.
TV show.
Awesome.
Yeah, the TV show.
With Lee Majors.
Yeah, with Lee Majors.
Wow.
Well, I was wondering, is there a film or a show that you've seen that's about a stunt person that most accurately depicts that? I'm thinking about, like, Ryan Gosling also did Drive, where he played stunt driver, so I was wondering if you've seen anything recent.
You know, it's
That's my question.
it's a weird thing because stunts, I think, everyone thinks it's fucking cool, but there's not many movies depicting it that are fucking cool. You know, they've always kind of been even for us. I think the latest stunt guy, a lot of the stuff is pretty good, but obviously a lot of it's, for artistic license,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, where they're toying with his health by a director saying, do that fucking fire burn again over and over. That's like bullshit, but.
Or towing his rifle bag and stuff.
But they did a lot of practical stuff
Yeah.
on there, and I think that's relevant, I guess, So,
How do you guys feel about
Hooper,
the-
I liked Hooper. Hooper was really cool.
Hooper.
With Burt
okay,
Reynolds.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Not really realistic in a lot of ways, but back in the old days, I don't know how they worked back then. Maybe he came out of his trailer, got on his bike, and.
I'll tell you, the interesting.
Oh, that's right. You were working back then, Tom.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about Hooper was it influenced so many of us in Vancouver, and in funny ways. But so I knew a guy named Alex Green, who's an old stunt guy, since passed away. But he had his stunt bag designed like the one in Hooper in the opening, only it had his on the leather patch. It had his name.
Yeah.
And then there was a guy named Jacob Rupp, and so the ranch that Hooper owned in the movie, he had one that was very, very similar, and he had horses that he would train and stuff like that, and that was his Hooper connection. And this wasn't a Hooper connection, but I had a Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am that I used to drive, and Melissa Stubbs, another very famous stunt girl. Her thing was she would throw parties at her house, and she had this really uniquely designed house with hidden passageways and stuff like that, and a slide from her bedroom down to her motorcycles and stuff. But she had a hidden theater in her house where after the party she used to love to show her stunt reels. We'd all sit there and watch, and that was all from Hooper. We all wanted to be Hooper.
Very cool.
There was a stuntman that lived in Tawasin that had a slide from his, and he had his two sons, Greg, but they went into stunts as well.
Is that the one? No, not
And
the
he had the Dukes of Hazzard car.
Oh,
Hospice?
Dave
Yeah,
Hospice.
yeah, Dave Hospice, yeah. So this is another stuntman that we all know about. They had a house that was close to me at one point in time when up in Vancouver, and he had a slide that went from the top of his floor, so his kids would, if they got called for dinner, they'd just jump in the slide and go, ooh, and then right to the kitchen.
So, summing up, stunts, cool, do cool stuff, fucking hurts. Make your choices wisely.
Yes.
Any off-screen pranks or any scare? You mentioned like
Hijinks.
Kelly Rowland, and I just her being scared, so I wanted to know if there were any scares.
I
or
had a
pranks.
great, so Kelly Rowland, beautiful woman, and anytime she saw me in the Jason outfit, she would cringe away. She was deathly afraid of that. But one day I had gotten out of makeup and everything, and I'm walking across the parking lot, and she saw me, and I hear her yell across the parking lot, "Damn, Jason's good looking."
And so she was joking, that's the prank?
She probably thought I was.
So the moral of the story, Kelly Rowland is blind.
Newsflash. Kelly Rowland died.
Guys, is it common to have a double for the double in your business?
In this situation, so it depends on the movie, right? Because I doubled Kane in Jason Takes Manhattan. It wasn't that Kane wasn't able to do what I did. It's just they didn't want to risk him getting hurt. We were shooting a second unit, and he's busy on main unit. So it's as common as doubling a lead actor, right? Every time you have a lead actor in a movie, he's doubled. And if a stuntman gets cast in a movie, if it's a big enough budget movie, it'll have a main and second unit, and they'll have to bring a second person on.
Yeah, like
Okay.
for instance, if the second unit is doing a car shot, you don't need Tom Cruise to be in that car, it's a waste of time, he's over on main unit doing his thing. You know, you get a double for Tom Cruise and you film it, and so that's kind of what Ken's saying with.
And on the main unit, all the other actors, their time is more important and worth more, so they wanna make the most efficient use of that as possible, so rather than take Ken away from it. And I remember, like, I was really new in the stunt biz, and Ken, like I said, was already a kind of a legend, so I so often would go to him. I did my first fire burn, my first air ram, everything was a first for me on this. I kind of go over to him and tell him what I was gonna be doing the next day or whatever that I was really intimidated and nervous about, and say, hey, what have you done like that? You know, just kind of casually asking questions to try to get some information from him, you know, a little bit of insight and stuff, because he'd done it all a million times. So it's kind of weird that I was his stunt double, but he was way more established stunt guy, like by 1,000-fold than I was. But it's just the way it kind of worked out, you know. If I broke a leg, well, they get another guy who's 6'4". But if he breaks his leg, then, well, I guess they could have just got another guy who's 6'4" and put on that. Sorry, forget what I was saying. No, so they make decisions based on money, you know, and
Remember that
convenience for
three-story
filming, so-
fall that went through the glass? You're like, what was I saying?
What now?
Even, in what's known as insert shots, like, if I was gonna pick up my phone, you're not gonna necessarily waste the setup for the close-up of the hand grabbing the phone that'll get kicked to second unit, so that'll be somebody else's hand. If you start paying attention to that, you'll notice just how different
Start paying
hands are
attention
and
to
stuff.
it and it'll ruin film.
It'll ruin-
Yeah.
So again, like Ken's saying, the reason that it looks so seamless is because they did it right. You don't
That's
want
true.
them to
That's
go,
true.
you don't want the audience to go, those two Jasons look different, one looked like 20 pounds heavier. That's when you take yourself out of the reality of movie making.
All right, we have time for one more. Yes.
There were like some other people that were involved with the film. Like you have, let's see, you have definitely some veterans on there. You have like Bill Terazakis, you have Kurt Bond, who did the stunt rigging, and then you have Doug Chapman, who did the stunts for Robert Englund, and you have Robert Englund himself, who did a couple of
Is
stunts.
he just called Chapman a legend?
I mean, he doubled for Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund, when he did the high flying water
The
stuff.
reason we don't like Doug Chapman is 'cause he's so damn good looking.
But
He's a good
like,
actor.
be real, like with those four people, especially some of them who have passed away, specifically Kurt Bond and Bill Terazakis.
Yeah.
What was it like working with not only them but also Robert Englund and Doug Chapman? And who else do some
I
of the
can't wait to
stunts?
see Chappie and tell him about this question. Doug Chapman has doubled me from the late 80s and on, isn't that crazy?
That's great.
And I've
No.
known him forever, but yeah, that's amazing.
As good looking as he is, he's doubling you.
No, I know, right?
So I worked with Kurt Bond. We did, I hired him on, well, I worked with him many times, but we did the remake of The Fog. And, you know, he was, you know, he had dedicated himself to rigging earlier on. And, you know, we've gotten together and he wanted to do this movie, and he did not disappoint. And the sad part is that, you know, he passed away too young, and pancreatic cancer. But you know, he loved the business. He was one of those people that, you can tell the people that love the business and the people that just do it for a paycheck. And he was one of those people that loved it. And Bill Terazakis, same thing. I mean, oh my God, he was over the moon to be able to contribute to Freddy versus Jason.
I mean, of course. I mean, I remember he worked with you, Ken, when he did Wrong Turn 2.
Yeah,
Like he did Wrong Turn 2, which many people don't know that was one of his credits, was Wrong Turn 2.
I played Pa.
Yeah,
who I called-
the pod music.
who I called
in Wrong
Uncle
Turn 2.
Pa.
So really good stuff in that one
Yeah.
as well. That's really good one that you did.
Yeah, but Bill was so dedicated to the business and stuff. He was, yeah, passed away too young too.
Pretty astute. There was a lot of really quality people on that movie, and it all came together in a way, in a quality movie, and the result kind of speaks for itself. Yeah, it was a nice combination of forces coming together.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, after the long wait to see Freddy and Jason finally meet, hopefully in the next 20 years it'll happen again. Yes. For a movie that successful, the most obvious thing to do a sequel for, but it's all this rights and fucking Hollywood shit.
Egos, all these egos.
Holding out for so much money.
Battling with Robert Englund over it. I'm like, hey, Stubbs is ready to go, bring me back. For a slice of carrot cake and then some apples, let's go.
All right, our Freddy versus Jason panel.
Thank you very much.